The blood didn't crawl, it turned to ice. I was staring at my phone, the screen a cold, white sun in the pitch-black bedroom, and the caller ID was a glitching void. No name, no number, just a pulsing, empty space where a human identity should be. Outside, the wind howled through the Allegheny National Forest, whipping the skeletal branches of the oaks against my siding like frantic fingernails. I shouldn't have answered. Every instinct, every horror movie I'd ever watched told me to hurl the phone across the room. But in the suffocating silence of Oak Haven, Pennsylvania, a ringing phone at 3 a.m. isn't a mistake, it's a summons. I swiped accept. "Hello?" I whispered. My voice sounded like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Static. Then a wet, rhythmic thumping, the sound of a heart beating inside a bucket of water. "Tyler!" The voice was a ragged rasp, a woman's voice distorted by a digital scream. "You left the back porch light on. It's attracting them, Tyler. You really should be more careful on Crestview Drive." I bolted upright. I was in my living room, the flickering blue glow of the TV casting long, jagged shadows against the walls. A half-eaten pepperoni pizza from Vinny's sat cold on the coffee table. I was alone. I was supposed to be alone. "Who is this?" I demanded, my heart hammering against my ribs. "How do you know my name?" "I know more than your name," she hissed. "I know you're wearing that gray Ohio State hoodie with the frayed strings. I know you haven't washed those pizza grease stains off your fingers. And I know the deadbolt on your front door didn't quite catch when you came in from the trash bins at 10 p.m. I looked at the front door. The heavy oak was shut, but from this angle I couldn't tell if the bolt was thrown. A cold sweat broke out across my neck. My house is a ranch style, isolated by 2 miles of dense woods. My nearest neighbor is an old veteran named Miller, who lives down by the creek. There shouldn't be anyone out there. "I have a Ring camera," I snapped, trying to find my courage. "It didn't go off. You're bluffing." "The camera sees the living, Tyler. It doesn't see the air. It doesn't see the cold. Look at the window." Slowly, my head turned toward the sliding glass door that led to the deck. The blinds were drawn, but at the very bottom there was a gap. 2 pale gray fingers, long and skeletal, were hooked under the plastic slat, slowly, silently lifting it. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My throat had seized shut. The intrusion. I scrambled back, knocking the pizza box off the table. The phone was still pressed to my ear. "Get out!" I choked out. The voice on the other end changed. The woman was gone. Now it was a chorus of a dozen voices, layered over each other in a discordant harmony. "The front door was just a suggestion, Tyler. The basement is where the real fun happens. The bulkhead door. You forgot the rusted latch, didn't you?" I didn't wait. I grabbed a heavy glass candle from the mantel and sprinted toward the kitchen. I flung open the basement door and hit the light switch. The basement was a cavern of shadows. My washer and dryer sat like white tombstones in the corner. I looked at the slanted wooden bulkhead doors that led to the backyard. Scree! Scree! The sound of metal scraping against stone. The heavy iron bolts were sliding back from the outside. I watched, paralyzed, as the wooden doors began to heave upward, a sliver of the moonlight spilling into the darkness. I slammed the basement door shut and turned the lock. I shoved my heavy kitchen table in front of the door, the legs screeching against the linoleum. My phone vibrated again. 3:15 a.m. I answered it with a sob. "What do you want? Take the car. Take the money. Just leave me alone." "We don't want the Ford in the driveway, Tyler. We want the heat. It's so cold in the Pennsylvania dirt. Give us your breath. Give us your skin." Suddenly, the kitchen light bulb shattered. Glass rained down on my head. In the sudden pitch blackness, I heard a rhythmic thump, thump, thump coming from the other side of the basement door. Something was climbing the stairs, not with feet. It sounded like something was dragging itself up by its claws. The 911 call. I ran. I sprinted for my bedroom, locked the door, and dove for my nightstand. I grabbed my 12-gauge shotgun, the one I keep for bears, and fumbled with the shells. I dialed 911. 911, what is your emergency? A calm Midwestern voice answered. Help! Someone is in my house! 442 Crestview Drive, Oak Haven. They're in the basement. Sir, stay calm. I'm dispatching a state police unit. They're 10 minutes out. Is there a safe room you can get to? I'm in the bedroom. I have a gun. Please tell them to hurry. I will, Tyler. I froze. I hadn't told the operator my name. How do you know my name? The line went silent for 3 seconds, and when the voice came back, it wasn't the operator. It was the wet, bubbling rasp from before. 10 minutes is a long time to bleed, Tyler. In 10 minutes, the state police will find a beautiful crime scene. They'll wonder why you were talking to a disconnected line for so long. I pulled the phone away from my ear. The screen didn't show an active call to 911. It showed a photo. It was a photo taken 5 seconds ago. It was a shot of me, huddled in the corner of my bedroom with the shotgun. But in the frame, standing directly behind me in the corner of the ceiling, was a woman. Her skin was the color of a bruised plum. Her hair was a matted mess of forest floor debris, and she was reaching down with fingers that looked like charred twigs. I didn't look up. I rolled to the side and fired the shotgun into the ceiling. The blast was deafening. Plaster showered down. A high-pitched, inhuman shriek ripped through the room, a sound like metal being torn apart. I scrambled out of the room, through the kitchen, and toward the front door. I didn't care about the cold. I didn't care about the woods. I just needed to get out. The final ring. I burst onto the porch, the freezing Pennsylvania air hitting my lungs like a physical blow. In the distance, I saw them, blue and red lights flashing through the trees. The police were actually coming. I dropped the gun and collapsed onto the gravel driveway, sobbing. 2 cruisers pulled up, tires spitting gravel. 2 officers stepped out, their flashlights cutting through the dark. One of them, a tall man with a name tag that read Officer Miller, approached me cautiously. Son, you the one who called? Yes, thank God. She was in the house. She was in the ceiling. Miller looked at his partner, then back at me, his expression softening into something like pity. Son, we got a call about a disturbance, but it didn't come from your cell phone. We traced it to the landline registered to this address. I don't have a landline, I stammered. The previous owner did, Tyler. A woman named Sarah Jenkins. She died in this house 3 years ago. Heart failure. Her body wasn't found for a week. I felt the world tilt. When did she die? Miller checked his notepad. November 14th at 3:12 a.m. The date on my phone. Today. Before I could speak, my phone, sitting on the gravel where I dropped it, lit up. The ringtone, reflection, blared at maximum volume. The officers looked down. The caller ID wasn't empty anymore. It was a video call. The screen showed a live feed of the porch where we were standing. The camera was positioned from the roof of the house, looking down at us. In the video, I could see the 2 officers and myself. And I could see Sarah. She was standing on the roof directly above the officers, her long, gray fingers wrapped around the gutter. In the video, she looked directly into the camera lens and smiled, a mouth full of jagged black teeth. I told you the camera doesn't see the living, Tyler. Her voice boomed from the phone's speakers. The porch lights exploded. The officer screamed as something heavy dropped from the roof. In the darkness, the only thing I could see was the glowing white screen of my phone. The caller ID now simply read, "Your turn." Then the battery died.